Welcome, rational thinkers and champions of evidence-based reasoning, to the Free of Faith podcast. This is the place where we dare to peel back the comforting but opaque layers of faith-based claims and expose their logical shortcomings. Today, we're tackling an audacious question. What would happen if the Christian God simply vanished? Would the universe stutter? Would history lurch in a different direction? Or would nothing at all change? Let's start with a parable of sorts. Imagine you live with Tim, Tom, and Tom's alleged friend George the Ghost. George is invisible, intangible, unverifiable, and yet somehow central to Tom's worldview. When Tim dies, you feel the vacuum left by his absence. Gone are the warm, insightful conversations, and there is now a clear increase in the household workload. At this point, you ask Tom what would happen if George suddenly died. Tom can offer nothing tangible or measurable. This parable constitutes an epistemic test case. It is a metaphor for the central theme of this episode. Does the Christian God leave any detectable footprint on reality? Christianity doesn't merely suggest God exists. It insists he intervenes. He heals, punishes, inspires, guides, and protects. But when we zoom out and apply the philosopher's scalpel, we're left asking, where's the statistical data? Where's the empirical differential between a world with God and a world without? Humans are justifiably warned against taking reports of miracles at face value. Today, in the age of science, we have access to volumes of statistical data such as actuarial reports, health records, battle outcomes, even lottery wins. However, we still fail to observe any consistent evidence of God. In the cold light of inductive inference, the hypothesis that God affects the world simply fails to perform to minimal expectations. This isn't just a problem of measurement. It's a philosophical indictment. If a being claims omnipotence and omnibenevolence, shouldn't the evidence be blindingly obvious? The very hiddenness of such a being is incompatible with his purported nature. If God desires a relationship with us and knows what evidence would convince us, his absence becomes a strong reason to suspect his non-existence. Is God an omniscient but silent teacher that offers no visible knowledge or insights? If knowledge is being transmitted, it should manifest in the minds of the students. But if cognitive outcomes are indistinguishable from those in a teacherless room, what grounds have we to assert there was teaching or a teacher at all? Imagine an alleged wizard who claims to have a magical healing potion. If emotional comfort and confidence is the only effect of the potion, then its cause need not be attributed to magic. Emotional conviction, however sincere, cannot ground metaphysical truths. To confuse subjective certainty with objective reality is to commit the epistemic sin of internalism without justification, mistaking feelings for facts. Let's take a moment to think clearly. Say we agree with this idea. If God suddenly vanished, the world would noticeably change. That would also mean, if the world hasn't changed, then God hasn't vanished. But here's the issue. We can't test that. Why? Because we have no idea what a world without God would even look like. Christians rarely explore that possibility, but we need to. If life with God and life without God look exactly the same, then there's no real difference between the two. And if there's no difference, that's a serious problem for claims about God's influence. Let's now add a layer of epistemology. If we are to treat belief responsibly, then the burden is on the believer to show that their belief tracks truth, not just internal coherence. The problem with Christian faith-based claims is that they often rest on testimonial evidence filtered through personal psychology, culture, and cognitive bias. You feel peace, so does the Muslim. You credit God with your recovery, so does the Hindu, the Buddhist, and the secular optimist with no God at all. So, what then is the source of these so-called divine experiences? Psychology gives us a rich menu, including the need for agency detection, the comfort of externalizing hope and fear, and the compelling pull of in-group validation. These experiences are real, yes, but they are not evidence of anything outside the brain. And the rebuttals? They too crumble under scrutiny.
God's actions are beyond measurement.
If so, they are also beyond epistemic warrant.
God works in subtle, personal ways.
Then he reduces to internal projection.
God respects free will.
But divine health benefits don't impair free choice.
Faith must be exercised despite incommensurate evidence.
This is the essence of irrationality.
Human minds can't perceive God.
Then humans cannot justifiably claim he exists at all. To call an entity necessary, while defining it as untestable, is the final philosophical sleight of hand. It's metaphysical stage magic, smoke, mirrors, and absolutely no epistemic substance. At the end of the day, what we're left with is not a case of misidentification, but a full-blown epistemic imposter. God becomes an entity so cloaked in abstraction, so insulated from falsifiability, that its presence is indistinguishable from absence. And as philosophers committed to rational inquiry, we must ask, what good is a God who behaves exactly like a non-existent being? If this conversation has sparked some questions, or even some discomfort, that's a good thing. Questioning is the first step toward clarity. Don't settle for easy answers or platitudes. Dive deeper, explore further, and demand evidence. Head over to Free of Faith to read the full article and join the discussion. Let's keep this conversation going, because the pursuit of truth doesn't stop at questioning. It's about finding answers that actually make sense. Thank you for tuning in to the Free of Faith podcast, where we expose the logical failings of faith and celebrate the clarity that comes with reason. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay curious, and remember, rationality always outperforms faith. Engage reality, and I'll see you soon.